In a few videos, I've commented on crossovers, and I've dealt primarily with power red as it crosses over zero or crosses under zero. But there are obviously many other types of crossovers. In the power chart, we talk about when the lines are above zero or under zero and their influence as to which way the price is going. Obviously, when they travel above zero, price is going up. That relationship of being either above or under zero carries through with many other on many other indicator charts. What I want to emphasize in this video is the relationship of what power yellow does at the same time or not at the same time with the other indicator lines. And I will be comparing power red to the power 4 and to power yellow, or I might say the power 3, because power yellow is part of the power 4. So I'm looking at those relationships of how yellow, or what yellow does when red crosses either under or over, and of course in comparison to either the power 3 or the power 4. In the first example here, I have a green vertical line on the left side of the red vertical line, and that's the day that power red right down here crossed over zero. It also crossed over power orange on the same day and gave us a fairly nice green candle. Notice the trend red as well crossed over zero, and the trio lines, yellow, pink, blue. And sometimes when you have both trend red and power red crossing over at the same time, it's helpful. Down below, power pink and white and blue crossed over the zero line, but again not as high as the power line, but they all crossed over. On the red line, we have a fairly nice red candle as well on that day, and that one shows us a power red and the other lines going back down under the zero line. But yellow, of course, just goes underneath the orange line. It doesn't go farther down. It's a day or two later before yellow crosses under the zero line. On these two green lines here, we have power power red crossing under zero this day where it gapped down, and then crossing back over zero where it gapped up. And as well, trend red went under zero and back up over zero along with that. Keep in mind, or please identify the fact that yellow crossed under the orange. Yellow and white crossed under the orange, and then of course went back up. And yellow in this case was we had one more day after this green vertical line, and then it kind of flattened out. Price flattened out, and then trend red starts going down after that. On this left vertical line, we have power red that's crossed over the zero line, and again, all except for power yellow, the other three, pink, blue, and white, crossed over the zero line, which gave us a nice, decent green candle, but not a huge one. But the difference is that pink and red, pink and blue continued real strong in their upward movement, which equated in price, as well as the yellow coming up along with the white. But they, of course, weren't as high. In this line here, I have it drawn in as an orange vertical line just to identify the fact that the power red just crossed over the orange, not over the zero. And the orange and green were fairly high power orange was at 1.6. Usually you see it down at 0.3 or usually under a half, or oftentimes under a half, definitely under 1 most of the time. So it is fairly high, but again, power, or the yellow line is coming down, but again, the yellow line crosses over here, which looks like it's about 6 days after the orange vertical line. And the other thing too that I equate with is watching that yellow line as it crosses under or doesn't cross under. In this example here, I have again a green vertical line which identifies not the fact that it went up over 0, but the fact that it was above 0 and then went up, and that gave us a decent green candle on that day. On the orange vertical line, we have power red that is crossed under the orange vertical line, and the following day, blue and white cross under. But the thing that I want to point out here to you is that the yellow line stayed up above the green or the orange line while it traveled for the next few days, and then just note too, the price didn't move a whole lot with the yellow line staying up above. If the yellow crosses under with the red or the day after or thereabouts, the price usually drops pretty well. But if it doesn't and remains up higher like this above the orange line, then the price becomes pretty flat. On this example here, we have got one more after this. In this case here, power red and of course a number of the other lines crossed up over the 0. This day on the vertical green line is also the day trend red crossed over green, which is the start of an uptrend. And oftentimes that's a good situation, or let me rephrase this. You have a BOC pattern and a crossover the green on the same day. When you have that, you then have a better, or excuse me, you have a stronger pressure in the movement, indicating that things should go up more effectively. In this case here, we had a small gap up the second day and then a nice green candle on the third day. So on this day here, the yellow kept coming up, and finally on the third day, on this day right here, the yellow crossed over the orange line, which made it beneficial for the total movement of those 3 days. It looks like it went up from about 53 to close to 57 in those 3 days. So, and then on this last one here, this is a case here where red has crossed under the orange. It is also crossed under the 0 on the same day. And when you get that, you get decent red candles. In this case here, it went from 59.42 down to 57.03. So that's just about $2.40. These are some nice candles in there. If I stretch this out, it becomes more evident on how they look. But that's a case where, if you look, you can see the yellow has continued to follow the red, going down underneath the orange lines and eventually riding low underneath the 0 line. And again, the indicator lines flatten out and the price flattens out. So it's easy to see that that information when you're looking for it. But those are some related crossovers and the effects of how power yellow is weighed in those cross unders or crossovers. along with the, I call them the power 4, but the yellow is obvious. I should say power 3 because that's the pink, blue, and white lines. And you can begin to see the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness if yellow doesn't follow the red. So when yellow just branches off and goes flat by itself or bounces around flat by itself, and it is either up above the orange and the others are all under, or the inverse, then you typically have some pretty flat movements. So that's it for this video.